Hey guys, so what I want to show you today is how to make your own DWC cloner and the items that you're going to need to do this. Now this is a hydroponic system commonly used. There are other systems you can use, but this is a very affordable way to do this and get a head start on your growing season by taking the cuttings of your choice. I'm just going to go through the items and show you what it is you're going to need and how much this is actually going to cost you. Let's start with one empty coffee container. Now obviously I'm not endorsing this product. A mister, some air hose, your choice of bubble stones, T-valve, but not necessarily needed unless you have too much air coming out of your pump and you want to use more than one bubbler. This little guy here is very critical for your air pump. What this is a one-way valve. So the way to test this is you can blow air into it in one direction and it will not allow you to blow through the other. The reason you need this is to protect your air pump in the case of an electrical outage, so your air pump doesn't siphon water back into it. Next would be air pump of your choice. I happen to have this, but you definitely don't need to buy anything expensive if you're going small scale. This particular pump I bought at Walmart for $12. So $12. Taking your cuttings, once again, not necessary. A sterile scalpel. Net pots. The only other thing that would be missing in this case would be the hydroton, which is the media that goes inside. Now I prefer to use neoprene pucks for the simple fact that I don't need any medium until I know whether or not that cutting has taken root. And that's pretty much it. What you see here is just a bigger version of the air stone, if in case you're using big buckets. All in all, I would say this would cost you around 20 bucks. So I'll show you on my other bucket how I got this started. So first I went ahead and I removed the lid, and obviously I did a little bit of math to make sure that my pucks were evenly spaced, just because this section is somewhat flimsy, but these aren't heavy, so I can get away with using this type of a lid. I basically divided it into 5 equal areas. An easy way to do this would be to lay out your pucks and just trace them. I use the hole saw, but you don't have to get that complicated. What I did was I measured this. This is 1 inch and 7/8. So I went ahead and I cut out with my hole saw 1 inch and 3/4. After having done that, you're pretty much ready to go, other than one other tiny little hole that you will need to drill into this container, and I'll show you what I mean. Once you have your holes drilled, you test your neoprene pucks, make sure they fit, or if in the case that you're using net pots, make sure they fit. This is a larger one, so if you're using one plant, then yeah, that would suffice. But I'm using this for cuttings, so I opted to go for the neoprene pucks because I can fit more in there. So the way this works is, as mentioned, this is a DWC cloner, which stands for deep water culture. Basically, the roots are submerged in constantly aerated water, so your pump will run 24/7. You can set the water level to slightly below the cuttings. I like to put the cuttings slightly into the solution, which will be mainly water here. You can put your choice of rooting hormone if you decide to go that route, but it's not entirely necessary. You will get somewhat of a better rooting rate with the hormone. That's what I find. So what you're going to do is you basically, this is a dual outlet. So what it has is 2 outputs. So you put your air lines, okay? You put your backflow valve. Then what you're going to do is you take your bucket and you drill a hole. I prefer to do it in the top. But sometimes it's easier if you have to constantly remove this. It's better that you do it in the side. what you want to be careful of is do not drill your hole below the water level, otherwise there's the potential for it to leak. You can caulk it in an attempt to seal it, but I'd rather not take the chance, so I make my holes on the top slightly smaller than your airline and just feed that into the bucket. So once you've made your hole in the top, you feed your line all the way down to the bottom of the bucket, and you will place one of these you'll basically put your lid back on like this, and this other end of the hose will be connected to your air pump. So where the backflow preventer is, you will connect the other end of the air line. As mentioned, you will fill this up with water to the bottom of the cuttings. I would put it slightly above the bottom of the cuttings and just run this pump 24/7. That's basically all you really have to do. This is a very low maintenance and effective system. It's the cheapest system that I've found with a very high success rate. And one critical step is do not forget to mist your cuttings daily. So once you take your cuttings, you put them in, you're going to remove most of the leaves off the cuttings, scrape the bottom stem approximately 1 inch from the bottom just to initiate rooting or to facilitate. Put them in the cloner, fill it up with water, get that bubbling, and immediately mist. You can also put a clear dome on top to maintain moisture levels, but misting every day, sometimes twice a day, is critical, just because of the simple fact that when there is no root system, the only way that the cuttings can absorb moisture is through the leaves. So that's very important that you do that. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend any other system to a beginner. There are more expensive systems, but this is literally 1/10 the cost of some of the systems on the market. There are aeroponic systems that mist water intermittently on your clones or regularly, but those are somewhat more complicated, not necessarily for the do-it-yourselfer. You can do it, it's much more expensive and more involved. This is very easy and very effective. Any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. Let me know if this helps you. Please rate and subscribe. Thanks.